We are in middle of Torah Tet Zayin, Torah 16 Torah Yud Zayin in the Likutey Moharan Torah number 17, and it's called VaYehi Hem Merikim Sakehem. And in this Torah, Rabbi Nachman is explaining to us how we may receive the aspects of Yira and Ahava of Hashem. How can we achieve the connection to Hashem that we receive through loving Hashem and fearing Hashem, through these emotions, through these experiences of Hashem, the experience of awe of the Ribbon Shalom, Yira, and the experience of love of Hashem. And we spoke about how we must combine the love and the fear, and the fear and the love, what's called in the Zohar, Dechilu, Urechimu, Rechimu, Dechilu. And Rabbi Nachman explains to us how we receive these two aspects, which are called in the Zohar the two Tren Gadfin, the two wings through which we elevate, we bring up all of our actions, words, and thoughts, all of our mitzvot to affect change in the higher world, in the spiritual world, in the spiritual realm. Rabbi Nachman explains we receive these two wings, and these two rings are tremendously significant, because if a person's Torah and mitzvot stay here in this physical world, and they don't affect change in the spiritual world, so then, as they say in here in Hebrew, mahir vachnu, what did you accomplish, right? Our whole purpose is to affect change in the higher world, in the spiritual world. Everything that we do here in this world is to cause a unification above, to cause a yichud, and when that unification happens, so then automatically we receive whatever it is that we need spiritually and physically. That comes about through that unification, but our ultimate goal and our ultimate purpose and the center of our focus is to cause that unification above in the higher world, and to cause that unification to happen in multiple dimensions and multiple levels. And that is to the extent that our actions, our words, and our thoughts and our mitzvot have an effect in the higher world. And the extent that we have an effect in the higher world is determined by our level of fearing and loving Hashem. So that's the awe and the love of the Ribbon Shalom that we experience through the heart. And so these are two emotions that are the basic two subcategories of all the other emotions in the heart. They're either in the category of fear or in the category of love, or some sort of combination between the two. But any emotion in the world is always it's always a subcategory of one of these two emotions, one of these two feelings, or a combination, some sort of combination between these two energies of fear and love. And the Zohar teaches us that the greatest power that we have, okay, so that means that the center of the greatest energy center within mankind, within a human being, is in the heart. And like Rabbi Nachman says many times in the Likutei Moharan, ha'elokut balev, the godliness within each one of us, that is where's that found? Where's the center of godliness within us? That's the heart, says Rabbi Nachman. And so the Zohar says that when a person does mitzvot, the greatest power that you have to electrify the Torah and mitzvot that we're doing, the greatest energy that we can put into the Torah and mitzvot is the energy that is found in our heart. And that's called in the Zohar, Reuta de Liba, the desire or the passion of the heart. Okay, and so it's not just an intention, it's the desire and the passion that is in the heart. It's sent out through, and it's kind of like the electromagnetic force that is attached to the intention. Okay, so when you have that intention, it's kind of like just data, and that intention is it's increased exponentially by that electromagnetic force, so to speak, metaphorically speaking, right, of the emotions in the heart. And those emotions are basically Yira and Ahava. And so when a person uses the feeling in the heart, the passion of the heart in the Torah and the mitzvot, so then you are including the energy, the greatest energy, what's called the energy of the keter, what's called the energy of the yechida, on the neshama, in a person's neshama, the most innermost part of a person's neshama, the innermost part of our soul, is called the yechida, and it corresponds to the keter and the 10 sfirot, and that is found in the intention and the passion of the heart, in the reuta de liba of a person. And so we receive this from the tzaddik. So basically, the greater your fear and your love of Hashem, how in quantity and in quality of it, the greater the power that you have in your Torah and mitzvot. And so the tzaddik teaches us that. The tzaddik gives us that experience of Hashem through fear and through love of Hashem, awe and love of the Ribono Shel Olam. And so that's what this Torah is all about. So this is what the purpose of this Torah is coming to teach us. And so the beginning of how Rabbi Nachman explains to us this is to explain to us how the tzaddik brings about, reveals the fear and the love aspects. And so he explains to us that the tzaddik is constantly seeking and searching the purpose for creation in general and in specifically. Every part of the creation, every part that is in the world, every detail, every specific detail in the world, in the universe, there's a purpose for it. And so the tzaddik is always seeking to reveal that purpose that Hashem has and that intention that Hashem has in every part of the universe and every part of the world. And he does that by revealing something else. There is something else that parallels the purpose, that is the answer to that question. What's the purpose that Hashem has for creating the world? What's the intention that Hashem has for creating the world? And the answer to that question is Am Yisrael. Yisrael asher b'cha yitpa'ar, the Jewish people. The Jewish people, Israel, in whom I take pride, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so Rabbi Nachman explains to us that the answer to this question in general, the general answer, what's the purpose Hashem has in all of creation, the whole world, the whole universe, that's the Jewish people. But specifically, every specific detail, every specific point in the world, in the universe, was created for a specific pride that Hashem has in the Jewish people. Every one of us, every individual in the Jewish people, in Am Yisrael, brings a specific pride to Hashem, a specific pleasure to Hashem, that for that pleasure and for that pleasure and for that pride, Hashem created some specific part of the universe, some specific part of the world, or something in the world. And so when you look at the world, specifically, you look at a lion, for example, one of the examples Rabbi Nachman brings, a lion. There are all the lions in general, and then there is this specific lion in front of you, for example, and that specific lion in front of you has a specific detail in this limb that's different from that limb, and it has a certain energy and it has a certain strength, and the roar of this lion specifically sounds somewhat different than the roar of that lion. And so every detail and every specific shape, form, sound, feeling, in every detail, in every specific thing, individual point in the universe and the world is existing because of a specific point of tiferet, of pride, that Hashem is priding himself, that Hashem has pleasure from a specific point, a specific detail in one of the individuals in the Jewish people. And the tzaddik seeks to find that. He seeks to answer that question generally and specifically, the answer of why Hashem created the world and what's the purpose that Hashem has, what's the intention that Hashem has. And because the tzaddik reveals this, when the tzaddik reveals this, he is revealing the fear aspect, the awe of the Ribono Shel Olam. Because when you have tiferet, Rabbi Nachman says, when you reveal the pride of Hashem, then when you have that energy of tiferet that's revealed, what accompanies it always is the energy of fear, which is the aspect of malchut, the energy of fear, the awe of the Ribono Shel Olam. And we see this, Rabbi Nachman illustrates this, how we see it by the tefillin. The tefillin is corresponding to the pride of Hashem. We know that in Hashem's tefillin, it says, Hashem also wears tefillin, as the Gemara tells us in Masechet Brachot, and it says in Hashem's tefillin, Mi ka'amcha ki Yisrael goy echad ba'aretz. Who is like your nation, Am Yisrael? Who is like your Jewish people? Okay, who is great like them? That you can look at the pride the tremendous pride that Hashem has, that in his tefillin, this is what it says. And so in our tefillin, we speak about the pride that we have in Hashem, the tiferet that we have in Hashem, that we pride ourselves in Hashem's greatness. And that's why our tefillin are filled with the miracles of Yetziat Mitzrayim, of how great Hashem is, taking us out of, delivering us from the exile of Mitzrayim, and all the other praises that we have of Ribbon Shalom and the oneness of Hashem. All of this is in our tefillin. And our tefillin, which represent the pride of Hashem, we know that anyone of the 70 nations, anyone that sees us wearing this tefillin, it says about that when the nations see the name of Hashem upon you, they will fear you. And so there is this aspect of fear, this energy of fear and awe connected to tiferet, connected to the pe'er. The tefillin are called the pe'er, the pride upon your head. Pe'ercha chavush alecha. Your pride is upon you. And when that pride is seen by any of the nations, by any of the people, so then there's this awe that falls upon them. And so in the same way, the pride that Hashem has of Am Yisrael is connected to the awe of Hashem. And so in the same way, when the tzaddik reveals this pride that Hashem has in the Jewish people, so then the awe of Hashem is revealed at the same time, in the same way. And so that's what we spoke about up until now. And Rabbi Nachman told us that we should really take this as a meditation exercise, practice contemplating how what the tzaddik does. Just by contemplating the fact that this is what the tzaddik does, the avoda of the tzaddik, the work, the inner work of the tzaddik is to constantly seek, search, seek, reveal, and bring to the surface of awareness the purpose that Hashem has in general and specifically for everything in the creation, in the universe. And that purpose is the pride that he prides himself with the Jewish people in general and specifically each individual. So contemplating this, says Rabbi Nachman, just meditating in this way, you will come to recognize increase your realization and your recognition of the greatness of Hashem. You will come to increase your realization and recognition of the greatness of Am Yisrael. How great is the Jewish people, that every individual among us and every moment in every detail within us is the purpose, is the source for the universe, for the creation and the existence of the universe. And you will also come to increase your realization and recognition of the greatness of the tzaddik. What human being? This is not a human being, this is an angel that is involved in such tremendous contemplations and meditations and this inner work that he is constantly unifying and connecting, what's called Kucher Bichu and Shchinte, HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Knesset Yisrael, Hashem and the Jewish people, and that is really the source for the existence of the universe, the source for everything in this world. By recognizing that the purpose that Hashem has, the intention that Hashem has, is the pride that he prides himself in Knesset Yisrael and the Jewish people, that unification tzaddik is causing, is affecting through his contemplations, is really the source for the existence of the universe, of the world. And that reveals Yira and Ahava. That we're going to see the Ahava, how the love of Hashem is revealed. But in this moment, we already understand how the fear of Hashem is revealed through that. Because when that tiferet, when that pride is revealed, so then there is the fear, the awe of Hashem that is revealed at the same time. And so let's continue now inside. Okay, we were שאמרו חכמינו זיכרונם לברכה, מניין שהתפילין הם עוז לישראל. Our Chachamim tell us in the Gemara in Masechet Brachot, Vav Amud Aleph, how do we know, where do we know that the tefillin is a source of might and power to Am Yisrael. שנאמר, וראו כל עמי הארץ כשם השם נקרא עליך ויראו ממך. נמצא שעל ידי התגלות ההתפארות שמתפארים ישראל עמו יתברך, על ידי זה נופל יראה. It says in the pasuk that the nations will see that the name of Hashem is upon you and they will fear you. They will be in awe of you. And so we see from here that we see from here that the experience of fear and awe comes from the tefillin. Okay. שאמרו חכמינו זיכרונם לברכה, we just read this. כמו כן על ידי התגלות ההתפארות של השם יתברך שמתפאר בישראל, שזה בחינת תפילין של השם יתברך, כמו שאמרו רבותינו זיכרונם לברכה שהקדוש ברוך הוא מניח תפילין. Also, in the same way, says Rabbi Nachman, that through revealing the pride that Hashem has with Am Yisrael, because that's the aspect of tefillin, שזה בחינת תפילין של השם יתברך, כמו שאמרו רבותינו זיכרונם לברכה, שהקדוש ברוך הוא מניח תפילין, because we know that Hashem wears tefillin. So Hashem is also wearing tefillin. Like it says in the Gemara also, right? Minayin shakadosh baruch hu maniach tefillin, and it says over there that the tefillin of Hashem, it says in it the pride that he prides himself in Am Yisrael. ואיתה שם שהתפילין של השם יתברך כתוב בהם ההתפארות, שהוא יתברך מתפאר עם עמו ישראל, כדאיתה שם שתפילין דמרי עלמא כתיבהו, ומי כעמך ישראל, כי מי גוי גדול. The tefillin of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it says in them, who is like your people, Bnei Yisrael, for which nation is so great? כי באמת, על ידי ההתפארות הזאת מתגלה היראה של השם יתברך, דהיינו ליראה מלפניו יתברך, ועל ידי זה נתגלה היראה אפילו על שנאה נשחק. And through this pride of Hashem, that Hashem is priding himself in Am Yisrael, and when this pride is revealed, so then it is revealed the fear of Hashem, the awe of Hashem. Meaning that we should experience fear and awe of the Ribbon Shalom, and through this, and this fear is revealed upon even the Shin'an Shachak, even the greatest angels, even the planets in far outer space, all of the celestial beings. כי באמת לפני המלך בוודאי הכל יראים וחרדים. אך אף על פי כן ביום הולדת המלך, ביום גנוסיה דמלכה שלובש המלך בגדי התפארות, אז נתגלה היראה יותר ויותר. כי אף על פי שגם קודם הכל היו יודעים מהמלך, עם כל זה מתפעל נפש הרואה יותר ויותר כידוע. So now Rabbi Nachman is adding to this another level, and Rabbi Nachman says to us that even though So Rabbi Nachman says that there is another level in the revelation of the awe and the fear of Hashem. One level is the regular experience of fear and awe of the king, that in front of the king, everyone fears the king, everyone experiences fear of the king at any time during the year, at any day. But then, says Rabbi Nachman, there's a special revelation, an added level of experiencing the fear of Hashem, experiencing the fear of a king. There's a special experience of the fear and the awe of a king that is on the day of the coronation of the king. What's called Biyom Genusia de Malka, the day that the king celebrates his birthday, or the day of coronation of the king, when there's a celebration of the kingship of the king. Okay, so on a birthday, just like on the coronation of a king, they also celebrate the kingship of the king. And when that is celebrated, there is a revelation to the malchut of the king. There is an added expression of that aspect of the king, the kingship of the king, the malchut of the king. And when that is revealed in a greater level, to a greater extent, so then the fear and the awe is revealed in a greater extent, in a greater way. And so that's what Rabbi Nachman says. Even before the birthday of the king or before the coronation of the king, on any other date, it's also known that he's king. But on that day specifically, one who sees the tremendous honor of the king, okay, through those celebrations, will experience greater awe and fear of the king through that. So when you see it with your eyes, when something is revealed in front of you, it causes a greater experience than when something is just known in the background as a fact. Okay, you can know that the king is a king and that he rules over the whole world and whatever. But when you see that in front of you, when that's revealed in front of you, that he is a king and the kingship of the king, through the celebrations of, for example, the birthday of the king or the coronation of the king, so then the experiencing of what comes from that malchut, which is the awe and the fear of the king, is also increased to that extent. And so that's what Rabbi Nachman says. פירוש כי כל דבר שרואים בעיניים מתפעל נפשו מזה יותר מאם היה יודע אותו בידיעה לבד. Okay, anything that you see with your eyes, anything that you see with your eyes, you will experience the impression of that to a much greater extent than if you just knew it in your head, right? בלי ראייה גמורה בעיניים. מתפעל נפשו מזה יותר מאם היה יודע אותו בידיעה לבד. בלי ראייה גמורה בעיניים, כמובן בספרים, כגון כשמספרים לאדם גדולת המלך, אף על פי שיודע הדברים בבירור, אף על פי כן אין מתפעל נפשו כל כך להתיירא כל כך מהמלך, כמו בעת שרואה בעיניו ממש את גדולת המלך. כשהוא לבוש בבגדי התפארותו ומנהיג חילותיו, שאז נופל עליו יראה יותר, כי הנפש מתפעל יותר על ידי הראייה. Right? So anything that one sees with his eyes causes a much greater impression on his soul, on his nefesh, than just knowing it intellectually. Okay, so if a person is told about the greatness of the king, even if he knows these things clearly, okay, and that's the experiencing of what he knows about the king any other day of the year, but he is not really moved to fear the king, to experience awe of the king, as much as when, with his own eyes, he sees the king's greatness, right? When the king is wearing his royal clothing, okay, the special robes, and he's wearing the special crown on his head, and he's holding the special staff in his hands, and he's directing the army, and he's giving, he's commanding his troops, or he's commanding his officers or his high advisors and his subjects. That time when you see the kingship of the king being expressed, being used, being in action, right, in front of you with your own eyes, rather than just knowing about it, then there's the fear descends upon you all that more. Okay, because seeing it is much greater than just knowing about it intellectually. There is a different type of knowing where you know something with your heart, and for you, that knowing is as if you're seeing it in your eyes, with your eyes. That's something else. But when someone just knows something intellectually, it's nothing to compare with seeing it with your own eyes in front of you. Balken, now says Rabbi Nachman, this is what the tzaddik does. The tzaddik causes the kingship of Hashem to be revealed and seen by you. It's as if it's seen by you. Okay, he brings it to your experience so that it's as if you're seeing it in front of you. Okay, by revealing that. כן, על ידי שהצדיק מגלה ההתפארות שמתפאר בישראל, שזה בחינת יום הולדת המלך, יום גנוסיה דמלכה, דהיינו שנולד בחינת המלכות, כי עיקר בחינת המלכות הוא רק על ידי ישראל, שמקבלים מלכותו, כי אין מלך בלא עם. And so says Rabbi Nachman that the tzaddik reveals the birthday of the king and the coronation of the king. And he says that the coronation of the king is the same as the birthday of the king, because the birthday of the king is the day that he was born as he was. It's the day, it's not just the day that he was born, it's the day that the king was born. And the day that the king was born really is the coronation. So there is the day that he was born physically, and then there's the day that he became king. Okay, and the day that he became king is the birthday of the king. It's when the kingship came to existence. Okay, and so the tzaddik reveals the kingship of the king. It means that the tzaddik is causing the revelation and the celebration of the coronation of the king, of the birth of that kingship. That's what the revelation of the king is of the kingship is all about, and that the tzaddik does by revealing the pride that Hashem prides himself with Am Yisrael, because there is no king without a nation, as we know from the Zohar, ki en melech belo am. And so by revealing the pride that Hashem prides himself with Am Yisrael, he is revealing the celebration of Hashem's kingship. By revealing Am Yisrael and the pride that he prides himself with Am Yisrael, he's revealing the king. Okay, ואז ביום הולדת המלכות, יום גנוסיה דמלכה, דהיינו שנתגלה התפארות של ישראל, אז מתפעל נפש הרואה ונתגלה ונופל יראתו על כולם, ואפילו השנאה נשחק, וזה בחינת על ישראל גאוותו, כשנגלה גאוותו ותפארתו על ישראל, אזי ועוזו בשחקים. עוז זה בחינת יראה כנזכר לאל, מניין שהתפילים הם עוז לישראל, דהיינו שנתגלה יראתו אפילו השנאה נשחק, כי מתפעל נפש הרואה. And so on the birthday of the king, the birthday of the kingship of the king, yes, on the royal coronation of the king, that's when the pride of the Jewish people is revealed, right? Because when the pride of the Jewish people is revealed, the kingship of the king is revealed. Again, so that's the coronation of the king, that's the birthday, the birthing of the kingship, the birthday of the Malchut. At that time, there is this fear and this awe that falls upon Shin'an and Shachak, the celestial beings. Okay? And so Rabbi Nachman brings a pasuk that we see this. Pasuk in Tehillim Samechet, Perek Samechet, 68, Pasuk Lamed Hey, 35. The pasuk says, Al Yisrael ga'avato ve'uzo b'shechakim. So Al Yisrael ga'avato, when it is revealed the pride that Hashem has for the Jewish people, Al Yisrael ga'avato, then the effect of that is ve'uzo b'shechakim. There's a tremendous fear and awe that falls upon the celestial beings. Shechakim is the Shin'an Shachak that Rabbi Nachman mentioned earlier. And ve'uzo, oz, might and power, is also a word that means fear and awe. As we saw earlier, that when the Gemara says, when the Gemara speaks about the awe and the fear that falls upon the nations when they see us donning the tefillin, the name of Hashem is upon us, and v'yar'u mimeka, and they will fear you, the Gemara describes that as, the Gemara says, minayin shatfilin hem oz le'Yisrael. From where do we know that the tefillin is a might, power to Am Yisrael? And so we see that from the answer is the pasuk that tells us that when we wear our tefillin and the nations see the name of Hashem upon us, they fear us, they're in awe of us. So we see that this aspect called oz, this word meaning might and power, is an experience of fear. And so when the pasuk in Tehillim says, ve'uzo b'shechakim, and his might and his power is on the celestial beings, that's the fear and the awe that is revealed, that falls upon them when Al Yisrael ga'avato, what says in the beginning of the pasuk, when it is revealed the pride that Hashem prides himself with the Jewish people. Why? As we said, because when you see it in front of you, then your soul is moved, is awakened to feel what comes from that. If it was just an intellectual knowledge, so then it wouldn't actually move your soul to feel and experience the energy that is connected to that. And the energy that's connected to that pride that is revealed is the energy of fear and awe of the Ribbon Shalom. And so we'll see the continuation of this Bezrat Hashem in the next year.